What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 268. We have Colby Covington going against Kamaru Usman. Really looking forward to this card. This card is stacked, the main card especially. We have fights like Rose Namajunas, Zhang Weili 2. We have fights like Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. I cannot wait for this fight card. It's going to be phenomenal. Before we get started, as always, if you can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already so not miss out on all the other content throughout the week, going live throughout the week as well on Fridays and on Saturdays. Now is a great time to sign up on the Patreon. The best option probably is that betting option, $10 a month. If you are into DFS, have an option for that as well. But with that, you get early access to my bets. I do have 2 bets already, 2 moneyline bets. One is a pretty sizable one, looking to add much more. This card is definitely sticking out from a betting perspective and a fan perspective as well. You also get all the stats you see like in the betting breakdown videos, also the advanced stats courtesy of Uncle Weezy as well. Lots of great stuff on there. My betting breakdown article breaking down all the bets I have. Also throw on a Hail Mary parlay. $10 a month, not much, but it does help support me a lot. And I am going to be opening up a website very soon. It is in the works. It is about done. Just need to release it. dfsbythenumbers.com. If you want to head over there, put your email down, and then once it is released, you'll be notified for that. So looking to do some new stuff over there on my website, dfsbythenumbers.com. And it's all thanks to you guys, all thanks to support that I am able to do that. So, but yeah, check it out. Last month was like the first losing month I've had in betting since like May or April. It's been a while, but yeah, looking forward to getting right back into it and killing this month, starting with 268. I'm feeling very good about this card, so that's great. So, doing the contest, as always, we had a big card last week. It did a contest, and have a big one this week. We'll do another contest here. So, first of all, I want to shout out the winner, Zach. Zach guessed 52 significant strikes. The correct answer was 51. He was the closest, was able to contact him, get him his winnings there. Shout out to him. There were some people that were very close, but Zach was the closest. Nobody got it on the dot. So I'll do it here again for this one. This one is going to be very hard. This is going to be probably a very high volume main event. We'll do it again. So first, enter the contest. As always, leave a like. Next, make sure you are subscribed. And then third, comment down how many significant strikes you think that Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington lands throughout the duration of the fight. Whoever is closest gets it. If there's a tie, whoever commented first gets the tiebreaker. And what I'll do is, for the winner, $25 to first, as always, $25 to who gets it closest. But if you hit it on the dot, this is what I'll do. I'm going to double the $25. It'll be a $50 win, whoever does get it right on the dot. If you don't get it on the dot, $25, still, decent win there. But if you get it on the dot, $50 to the winner. Have never done that before. We'll see if anybody can get it. So, I say we get into the fight card. I'll be going live Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time after the weigh-ins, and then 1 hour prior to when the prelims start on Saturday as well for Best Bet with me, Weezy, Narco, and also a special guest. So, lots going on. Great card. I'm looking forward to it. Let's get into UFC 268, starting with the very first fight of the night. We have CJ Vergara going against Ode Osbourne, a fight that I'm really looking forward to. This fight is going to be a banger, and I definitely see why they put it on the very first fight of the night, because it's going to be a fun one. We have CJ Vergara, who is 30 years old, 5'6" with a 69.5-inch reach, 9-2, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Ode Osbourne, 29 years old, 5'7" with a 72-inch reach, 9-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we take a look at the odds, and we do see that Ode Osbourne is a favorite. He opened up as a minus 150 favorite. He's now minus 162. And Carlos Vergara opened up plus 130. He's now plus 142. We see that the fight goes to decision plus 115. The fight doesn't go to decision minus 155. I think this fight does finish, guys. These guys are very dangerous. Obviously, Ode Osbourne has not been to a decision in a long time. I think it's been like 8 or 9 fights since Ode Osbourne has seen the scorecards. This is a guy that gets in and gets out. I think it's even been like 7 or 8 fights where he hasn't even seen the second round. All of his fights in the UFC thus far have been in the first round. When you take a look at Ode Osbourne, though, he's very well-rounded. This guy is huge for the 125-pound weight class. He has a 72-inch reach. He's big for the weight class. Vergara is going to be at a reach disadvantage here. When I take a look at Vergara, I'm not overly impressed with the guy, but he made a very good account for himself on the Contender Series. Went out there and finished his opponent in like 30 seconds. It was very impressive. But, this is a fight where I think if Ode Osbourne uses his wrestling, he's going to have a very big advantage here. I've seen fights where Vergara was taken down easily, and then off his back, he just has nothing to offer, whereas Osbourne, I'm actually really impressed with his grappling, at least in terms of being off his back. He has multiple submissions off his back, but you take a look at him, and he doesn't really go out there and try to wrestle offensively. He had 1 takedown on the Contender Series, but in his 3 UFC fights, he has 0 takedowns. But if I was Osbourne here, I would definitely be wrestling. On the feet, it's very close. It's very competitive. I do like the reach of Osbourne. Both guys hit very, very hard. Osbourne has been knocked out before against Manel Kape in his last fight. CJ Vergara has never been knocked out, but Vergara has been submitted. So it's an interesting fight. I think if Osbourne does implement a wrestling-heavy game plan, which, again, we don't see it too often, but if he does choose to do so, I think he has opportunity to make this look pretty easy. But if he does choose to, stand and strike like he has been in the UFC, it could get very, very sketchy. So I'm actually going to take Osbourne here for the win. I'm going to take him to win by a first-round submission. I say he does get Vergara down and submits him early, but Vergara is going to be live. As long as he's on the feet, he's going to be very live. But I'll take Osbourne by a first-round submission here, hoping he comes out here and implements that game plan there. But yeah, it should be a very, very fun fight, and definitely looking forward to kicking it off with this fight here. Next, we have Melsik Baghdasaryan going against the newcomer in Bruno Souza. We have Baghdasaryan, 29 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach, 6-1. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Bruno Souza, 25 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach, 10-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So we take a look at the odds in Melsik Baghdasaryan. This fight was just announced a couple days ago, so we pretty fairly new line here. Baghdasaryan opened up -185. He's now -265, and Bruno Souza opened up +160. He's now +225. So yeah, I'm really high on Melsik Baghdasaryan. This guy's striking is legit. He's somebody that, in the past, outside of the UFC and outside of Contender Series, I think he finished like 4 or 5 guys in like less than a minute. Like, this guy is very dangerous. He goes after it. He hits very hard, and his striking is just next level. And he showed that in his UFC debut against Colin Anglin. And I guess the only concerns I had about Baghdasaryan was, how good is this guy's takedown defense? How good is this guy's get-up game? And to answer your question, both are pretty solid. Anglin was able to get him down once, but we saw that he was able to get right back up right away. On the Contender Series, he was able to stuff multiple takedowns. When he got taken down, he's able to get up right away. And you take a look at Bruno Souza here, and I was able to watch like 4 fights on him, and to be honest, I'm just not impressed with the guy. He's a decent striker, very, very low volume, doesn't throw much with his hands, more of a kick-heavy fighter, doesn't go for a ton of takedowns. In the 4 fights I did watch, I was able to find, he went for 1 takedown, and that was because his opponent kind of initiated the grappling. My thinking here is if Bruno Souza does not go for takedowns in this fight, he's going to be in so much trouble. I think Baghdasaryan is leaps and bounds better than him on the feet, but like I said, Baghdasaryan, his takedown defense is somewhat questionable. I think it's okay. His get-up game is good, but I think he could have some trouble when a good wrestler, a good wrestler with good cardio fights him, but I just don't know if that's Bruno Souza really at all. I take a look at some of Bruno Souza's fights. He fought Camilla Kirk. It was a very close fight. I personally did score for Kirk. He fought another guy where I forget what his name was, but the dude was dominating Souza from start to finish up until he hit Souza in the back of the head, and then they called it a DQ. So we got a win for that as well. Again, I'm just not impressed with the guy. If he's going to come out here and strike with Baghdasaryan for 15 minutes, he's going to get knocked out. So I like Baghdasaryan. I think the price tag is warranted. To be honest, from what I've seen from Souza, I think the line could even be wider. I think Baghdasaryan's a real deal. Maybe potentially fade this guy at some point, but this is just not the fight, especially short notice for Souza. I think it's a really bad matchup for him. So give me Melsik Baghdasaryan to win. Give me Melsik Baghdasaryan to win by knockout. This guy's very good. All right, the next 2 fights are rough, guys, but the rest of the card's very good. But we have Alexa Kmore going against John Allan. We have Kmore, who's 26 years old, 6'1", with a 74-inch reach, 6-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. John Allan, 28 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach, 13-6, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. And I've been flipping back and forth on this one. This one is a tough one. I don't recommend anybody bets on it, but we see that Alexa Kmore opened up a -150 favorite. He's now -125. John Allan opened up +130, and he is now +105. So I guess just to sum it up a little bit, Aleksa Camar, he's going to have the striking advantage. He throws a lot of volume, but I see a big hole in the game of Aleksa Camar, and that hole is going to be the takedown defense. On paper, it is 50%. We saw that William Knight was able to take down Aleksa Camar 4 times and control him for the majority of that fight, win a decision. Nikolai Negumereanu was able to get him down as well. And we do see that John Allan, like the thing with him is, it's hard to get a read on this guy, right? He looks good. He looks very good in the Mike Rodriguez fight. He took down Mike Rodriguez 4 times, was able to control him for the majority of that fight, and then he pops for PEDs. So, you know, it's a tough fight to call. I don't love the takedown defense of Aleksa Camar. I don't love a lot from John Allan. I mean, John Allan is somebody that got submitted by Vinces Moreira. Vinces Moreira not only submitted him, but he dominated him in that fight. Took him down 3 times. It's not a good look. This is a complete pass for me. If I had to pick a fighter, though, if I absolutely had to, it's going to be the dog and John Allan. I'll take the dog shot in terms of a pick, but my goodness, I would never lay money on this fight. I'll take John Allan to get the takedowns. I think on the feet, yeah, it's Camar, but I don't think it's like so much into his favor. And then as far as the takedowns, give me John Allan. Supposedly, he's a black belt in BJJ, a black belt that's been submitted, I think, like 4 times, but still a black belt nonetheless. We saw William Knight have success. We saw Negumereanu have some success as well. Give me John Allan to take him down and win a very, very greasy decision. But yeah, I don't have much confidence in this pick whatsoever. But yeah, John Allan by decision, taking a dog there. Next, we have another fight where, same thing. This is rough. This is very, especially on a card like 268, Madison Square Garden. This fight is, very low level, probably the lowest level fight on the card. But, we have Chris Barnett going against Jean Volante. Burnett, 35 years old, 5'9", with a 75-inch reach, 21-7, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Jean Volante, 36 years old, 6'3", with a 76-inch reach, 17-13, and 1-4 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, Jean Volante is going to have a 6-inch height advantage. Chris Barnett's going to be the smaller fighter like he typically is in most fights. Not too often you do see a 5'9" heavyweight. But yeah, this is another fight that it's very tough to call. We're going to see that the odds are very close, and rightfully so. Chris Barnett opened up as a plus 130 dog. He's now minus 111. Jean Volante opened up minus 150. He's now minus 109. I think the odds should probably be a pick'em because I really don't think you could favor any guy. Jean Volante's looked so bad. He's looked horrendous. He's a light heavyweight fighting up at heavyweight, and he's looked horrible. He's looked absolutely horrible. You take a look at his very first fight at heavyweight, and it was against Maurice Green. And he knocks down Green, and he gets on top. All he had to do was just ride out the round. And I guess on UFC stats, they're calling it like an arm triangle. On Tapology, I think they called it like some type of modified choke. But, the announcers were like confused as to what happened. Jean Volante tapped basically out of nowhere. And Dominic Cruz is like, I've never seen that in my life. That's not even like a real submission, something along those lines. And he just basically tapped due to exhaustion. And his gas tank has looked horrible. Even against Jake Collier, his gas tank looked really bad. He slowed down tremendously as the fight went on, and Jake Collier outlanded him at 123-80. The gas tank's horrible. He's not looking good. He's now 36 years old. As far as Chris Burnett, I'm just not impressed with the guy at all. He's an undersized heavyweight. What I will say, though, is he has okay cardio. I will give him the cardio advantage, which I think is going to be pretty big in this fight. And he does throw volume. He does do stuff, which is great. But yeah, this is such a low-level fight. I want to stay far away from this one as possible. But in terms of picking a winner, I'm actually going to take Chris Barnett to outland Volante over the span of 3 rounds. Volante's cardio is so bad. At least Barnett, I know with him, yes, he looks very tired, but he can go 15 minutes, no problem. So give me the guy who I believe has the better cardio, and that is Chris Barnett, and give me Chris Barnett to win by decision. Not looking forward to that fight, but what I am looking forward to is this fight. We have Jordan Williams going against Ian Garry. Ian Garry, a well-anticipated debut here. Lots of hype on this guy, and I didn't know much about him, but after looking into the tape on this guy, I see why that hype is. This guy is really good. Ian Garry, though, he is 23 years old. He's 6'3", 7-0, and 5-0, obviously, in his last 5 fights. Jordan Williams, 31, 6'1", 75.5-inch reach, 9-5, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So, yeah, Ian Garry went into tape like not expecting a ton. The dude's 23 years old. Expected to see maybe a green fighter that is still young, needs some improvement. But this guy's not green. This guy's good, and he's good everywhere. His striking's very good. Has a really good jab, great volume, great combinations. And then in terms of like the takedown defense is great. The get-up game's great. The offensive wrestling's solid. The grappling's solid. Like, this guy's a very well-rounded fighter, and it's crazy to see. He's only 23 years old. He doesn't fight like he's 23 years old. He's now training at Stanford MMA. I think that is huge for him. But we'll take a look at the odds, and we'll see why, Ian Garry is the biggest favorite on the card. He opened up minus 350. He's now minus 335. Jordan Williams opened up plus 275. He's currently plus 275 as well. The thing with Jordan Williams is, he is a guy that he's dangerous. He comes forward. He throws very hard. And for him to win, he's going to have to knock out Ian Garry. I don't see Jordan Williams winning a decision. I don't see Jordan Williams, coming out here, grappling Ian Garry for 3 rounds. I just don't see it. I think if Jordan Williams wins, it's by knockout. The reason being is, Jordan Williams, his cardio is very bad. Very, very bad. We saw him slow down a ton in the Imavov fight. Imavov was able to win that pretty easily. Imavov hurt him multiple times in that fight as well. And then in the next fight against Mickey Gall, a lot of people crap on Mickey Gall. I think he is, getting better. He's making improvements. The striking's come along. But even then, like, getting hurt bad twice against Mickey Gall, that is not good. That is absolutely not good. And then Mickey Gall finished him. One thing I noticed was the Gall fight was at 170. So Jordan Williams is diabetic, so he does have problems cutting down weight. So he did cut down to 170. I don't know if the weight cut was the problem there, because he just looked off. He looked bad. And then going through his record, he has fought at 170 before, but he's actually been finished 3 times at 170 pounds. So I'm not sure if the weight cut is going to be a serious issue here. This fight's at 170 as well. But yeah, that's definitely something to mention, that, again, he's diabetic. It's tough for him to cut weight. But he did cut weight, and he got finished bad. He looked bad. He looked really bad against Mickey Gall. But yeah, I like Ian Garry here. I like Ian Garry quite a bit. I think he's the more well-rounded fighter. I think he has the tools to win this fight. I think cardio is big in the favor of Ian Garry. I think the striking is big in the favor of Ian Garry. The advantage I will give Williams is the level of competition. Level of competition, probably the pure power, but I think Garry hasn't beat everywhere else. Jordan Williams, one thing to mention, this guy's striking defense, 35%. He is very, very hittable. I think that jab for Garry is going to be there all day. I think the first round for Garry is probably going to be the most dangerous. If he can get out of that first round, I think he'll be fine. So yeah, I do like Garry. I think the price is warranted. I think Ian Garry does win. I think Ian Garry does win. I'm going to say 3rd round knockout. Williams is a very tough guy, but he has been finished several times, 3 times at 170. I think that Ian Garry's going to finish him late in the fight. I think he's going to gas out. He's so hittable. I think Garry catches him at some point, maybe a head kick or something. But yeah, give me Ian Garry to win. I'm going to take him to win by knockout. Really looking forward to the debut of Ian Garry. Let's see if this hype is warranted. Next, we have Phil Hawes going against Chris Curtis. Phil Hawes was actually supposed to fight a couple weeks back. He was supposed to fight against Deron Winn. Now, in steps Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis was actually going to fight Phil Hawes the day Deron Winn pulled out, and then Phil Hawes declined the fight. They're now rebooked, and they're fighting here on 268. So, yeah, to be honest, I was more confident in Hawes over Deron Winn. I had a big bet on Phil Hawes. I thought Hawes was going to finish him there, but Chris Curtis, he's not bad at all. Chris Curtis, 34 years old, 5'10", with a 75-inch reach, 26-8. And 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Phil Hawes, 32 years old, 6 foot, with a 77.5-inch reach, 11-2, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds. We see that Phil Hawes is the 2nd biggest favorite on the entire card. Opening up minus 350, he's now minus 330. Chris Curtis opened up plus 275, he's now plus 255. And the thing with Hawes is, he's somebody that has made so many improvements. He's just getting better and better as each and every fight we see him. I mean, he's a guy that slowed down bad against Julian Marquez on the Contender Series, got knocked out. I've seen him hurt, rocked multiple times, but can't deny that he's been looking really good as of late. Against Kyle Daukaus, that fight really showed improvements in terms of the cardio of Phil Hawes. It was Hawes who, believe it or not, had the better cardio in the 3rd round compared to Kyle Daukaus. That was impressive. And then against Imavov, I thought if Hawes got out of the 1st round, he was done, but that was not the case. Hawes, he was definitely tired, but his gas tank did look a lot improved than what it showed in the past. In this matchup in particular, I think it's a solid fight for Hawes. I do see why he's a big favorite. Chris Curtis, I guess the one hole in his game is going to be the takedown defense. The takedown defense is not great. I've seen him held against the cage, and that's what Phil Hawes is going to do. Phil Hawes, wrestling background, we've seen him win an entire fight just holding Imavov against the cage. He held Imavov against the cage for about 11 minutes, took him down 4 times as well. I see kind of the same thing here. As long as Phil Hawes does not gas out, which he could. He could. We saw in the Imavov fight. Imavov was touching him up in that 3rd round. So, yeah, I think Hawes comfortably wins 1 and 2. But, yeah, the 3rd round could be sketchy. Chris Curtis, his cardio is very good. His output's very good. And I would not be completely shocked if Curtis could finish him in that 3rd. But, again, Hawes is getting better and better. We're seeing these massive improvements. I do expect to see the best version of Hawes, and I think we're going to get that here. I'm going to say Hawes does win, but I'm going to say by decision. I kind of thought he would finish Duran win, but Chris Curtis, he has 34 fights, something like that. Chris Curtis has 34 fights. He has 34 fights, and he's been knocked out 1 time. This guy's chin is very good. So I'm going to say Hawes by decision. Hawes has won his last 2 fights by decision. I say this is kind of like a grinding heavy game plan, which is smart, which is very smart against Chris Curtis. That's what I'd do. So give me Phil Hawes to win a grinding decision. But yeah, the 3rd round could get a little bit sketchy, especially considering Phil Hawes is a big favorite. But yeah, give me Phil Hawes to win. I think it's a solid fight for him. All right, yeah, looking forward to this one for sure. Edmund Shahbazian going against Nasruddin Imavov, probably one of the best fights on the card. We have Imavov, who is 25 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach, 10-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Edmund Shahbazian, 23 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach, 11-2, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here, and we see that Edmund Shahbazian opened up -150. He's now +105. Nasruddin Imavov opened up +130. He's now -125. So the line kind of flipped there initially. It's an interesting fight, and it's a very tough fight to call. The reason being is we take a look at Edmund Shahbazian, and yes, he's on a 2-fight skid, but my goodness, take a look at who he's fighting. Derek Brunson, top 5 fighter. Jack Hermansson, I believe he's a top 5 fighter, ranked number 5, I believe, number 6 at the very worst. Both guys are very good wrestlers. Both guys have very good grappling. Both guys are black belts. Those are horrible matchups for a guy like Edmund Shahbazian, who was, 22 at the time. He's now 23, a very young guy. Those are tough fights. Those are very tough fights. Prior to that, he's running through people. Knocked out Brad Tavares in round 1. Submitted Jack Marshman in round 1. Knocked out Charles Byrd in round 1. Took Darren Stewart to decision, but took him down 8 times. Ran through his opponent on the Contender Series as well. And then now that he's facing this tougher competition, can't talk, he's having some trouble, but we got to cut him a little bit of slack. He's fought the much better competition. Nasruddin Imavov is the guy that lost to Phil Hawes. I mean, I'm high on Phil Hawes, but maybe not the best look. He beat Ian Heinisch. I thought it was a very good performance by him, and then he beat Jordan Williams as well. My only concern with Imavov in this fight is the level of competition. I don't want to completely overlook Shahbazian because he lost to Brunson and Hermansson, 2 very, very good fighters. But I really like what I see from Imavov. I mean, this is a guy that has a ton of volume. His striking is very good. He has power. He's well-rounded. His offensive takedowns are good. His grappling's good. His takedown defense is good. He has solid cardio. He's definitely going to have the cardio advantage here. I like a lot of what I see from Imavov. And Imavov is a young guy in his own right. Imavov is 25 years old. I think both of these guys have a huge, huge ceiling in their careers. They're both so young and they're both so talented, and it's a tough fight to call. I'm going to take Nasruddin Imavov. I think a big thing to mention is he's never been knocked out, in which, it could happen. Shahbazian very well could knock him out here in the first round, but he's never been knocked out. He's shown a good chin. I have seen him hurt a couple times, but if Imavov can survive that first round, I think he's going to take over as the fight goes on. Shahbazian's gas tank is bad. It is very, very bad. We see him slow down drastically after that first round, and if he slows down against Imavov, I think Imavov is going to piece him up rounds 2 and rounds 3, maybe win a decision, or maybe get a late finish as well. So yeah, I think Shahbazian, early, he's going to have an opportunity. He's going to have an opportunity to find that big shot, put out Imavov. He's very capable of doing so, but I just think Imavov has more paths to victory here. Imavov very well-rounded, cardio advantage. The striking's really good as well. Give me Imavov to win. I'm going to take Imavov to win by a 3rd-round knockout. I think Shahbazian's going to slow down to a point where Imavov puts him out at some point, but Yeah, it's a tough fight. It's a very tough fight, but give me Nasruddin Imavov to win. Give me Nasruddin Imavov to win by knockout there. All right, couple more fights till we get on the main card. We have Iaquinta going against Bobby Green. We have Bobby Green, who is 35 years old, 5'10", with a 71-inch reach, 27-12, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Iaquinta, 34 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach, 14-6-1, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So I do want to get into some stats on this fight, as I do think they're important. But first, we'll take a look at the line, and we see that Bobby Green opened up -130. He's now -170. Iaquinta opened up +110. He's now +145. So some money is coming in on Bobby Green, and I absolutely understand it. So let's get into some numbers here. Bobby Green lands 5.45 significant strikes per minute with a 51% striking accuracy, absorbing 3.55 with a positive 1.9 significant strike differential and a 62% striking defense. Very, very impressive numbers there by Bobby Green. Iaquinta lands 4.06 significant strikes per minute with a 40% accuracy, absorbing 4.44. That means he is absorbing more than he's giving out, and he has a negative significant strike differential of 0.38 and a 61% striking defense. Now, getting into the grappling stats, if there is a takedown in this fight, I do expect it to come from the Iaquinta side. He does shoot a lot of takedowns, but he is not successful in getting them. He does land a half a takedown for 15 minutes, only an 18% accuracy. Bobby Green has a 72% takedown defense. You take a look at Bobby Green in his career, he's been on a good run as of late. I know he lost in his last fight against Rafael Fiziev, but you take a look at that fight. Like, I know numbers aren't everything. I know Fiziev clearly won the fight, winning rounds 1 and rounds 2, but it's just crazy to look at the numbers and see that Bobby Green outlanded him in every single round. Bobby Green actually outlanded Fiziev 143 to 104. That's impressive. That is very impressive. He outlanded Fiziev 32 to 25 in the first, 45 to 36 in the second, and then 66 to 43 in the third. And by the way, one of the judges gave the third round to Fiziev, and it just makes no sense to me. It was clearly a 29-28 in my opinion. But before that, I mean, he loses to Thiago Moises. Very close fight. I personally scored it for Bobby Green. Before that, he beat Alan Patrick, beat Lena Venata, Clay Guida. He lost to Francisco Trinaldo. I personally scored that for Bobby Green. Lost to Jakar Close. I personally scored that for Bobby Green. What I'm trying to get at is this guy gets into a lot of close fights, and the judges just don't seem to like him. Like in 3 of his last 4 losses, I thought he won. So, I mean, betting Bobby Green at this price tag is definitely scary. He does a lot of things I don't like at times. You know, he showboats. He doesn't really have much striking defense, relies a lot on head movement. He's really good at it, but still, just a lot of showboating that I don't like, and the judges probably don't like it as well. But he's really good. His striking's really good. He's well-rounded. His takedown defense is good. And Iaquinta, we have not seen him fight in 2 years. That is huge. That is big. Whereas Bobby Green, we've seen him fight a ton. And like in the last 2 years, Bobby Green's fought 6 times. Whereas Iaquinta in the last 2 years, he hasn't fought at all. I think that's huge. Now Iaquinta, he's 35 years old, 34 years old. He's getting up there in age. A 2-year layoff. And the last time we saw him, I kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. Looked horrible against Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker dropped him at some point. Dan Hooker was able to clearly beat him throughout the duration of 3 rounds. He showed toughness for sure, but did not look good in that fight. That was 2 years ago. Is he gonna make improvements at this point of his career? I don't think so. And on top of that, he lost to Donald Cerrone before that. That was Donald Cerrone's last win. Donald Cerrone has not won a fight in his last 7 or 6 or 7 fights. And the last win was against Iaquinta, and Donald Cerrone looked phenomenal in that fight, dropping Iaquinta twice. I've heard interviews with Iaquinta. I'm really questioning where his head's at. He has a real estate business going on. He talked about potentially retiring at one point. Really questioning his motivation. I like Bobby Green here. I like Bobby Green to get it done. The only concern, like I said, is the judges hate him, but he should win this fight. But I will say it is going to decision. Bobby Green's last, I think 13 of his last 14 fights have all went to decision, which is terrifying considering the judges at times just don't know what they're watching, so that's scary. But I really do think Bobby Green's the better fighter at this point in their careers. I think Bobby Green's probably the more motivated fighter. I question where Iaquinta's head is at. I don't know. But I do like Bobby Green here to get the job done and get it done by decision. And it should be a good fight. It should be definitely a good fight. Not sure if it will be Iaquinta's last fight or not. Like I said, he was potentially going to retire. The past couple years he was off, but he's back, and we'll see where he does go forward. But I do like Bobby Green to get the job done by decision. All right, next we have the last fight on the prelims, and this is a banger. We have another guy that has some hype on him, Alex Pereira. Pereira going against Andreas Mikolaitis. And yeah, the reason why Pereira has some hype on him is because he was the only person to knock out Israel Adesanya. And this guy's good. His striking's phenomenal. I cannot wait for this fight. We see that Alex Pereira, he is 34 years old, 6'4", with an 80-inch reach. He is 3-1, and 3-1 in his last 4 fights. He only has 4 fights. Obviously a kickboxing background, only 4 fights in MMA, and those 4 fights were in like the span of 5 years. This guy started MMA in 2016, so very inactive in terms of fighting MMA, which could definitely be a concern. Andreas Mikolaitis, 33 years old, 6 foot with a 75-inch reach, 13-4, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Mikolaitis going to be at a 4-inch height disadvantage and a 5-inch reach disadvantage. Alex Pereira is huge. The thing with Mikolaitis is he's dangerous. He has a ton of finishes on his record. Both guys are dangerous. Pereira in his 4 wins, or his 4 fights, has a 100% finish rate, all by knockout. Mikolaitis an 85% finish rate, 54% by knockout, 31% by submission. Mikolaitis has been knocked out 4 times. Clear path to victory for Pereira. That might even be why the UFC is matching him up here with Pereira. And then Pereira has been submitted in his only loss, it was his MMA debut. Got taken down easily and submitted shortly after. What I will say is Mikolaitis, believe it or not, he's a black belt in BJJ. I don't think his wrestling's that great, but he was able to get a takedown against KB Bueller. I've seen him get takedowns outside of the UFC. He doesn't go to the wrestling often. And again, I don't think he has the best wrestling in the world, but if he's gonna win this fight, he's gonna have to come out here and take down Alex Pereira. Watching the very few fights that we have to watch of Pereira in terms of MMA, his takedown defense is very suspect. He gets taken down in pretty much every single fight I saw outside of the ones where he's starching guys like really early. But yeah, he's getting taken down easily. In his MMA debut, got taken down, submitted easily. So that's a serious path to victory for Mikolaitis. And to be honest, I was very close to picking Mikolaitis, but what kind of scared me off is this guy's cardio is awful. Like one of the best gas tanks I've ever seen in my life. This guy gasses out after the first round most times, even in fights like where he's not even grappling, like he is slowing down a lot. It's because he puts a lot into every single one of his shots. He's a knockout guy in his own right. He's a very good striker. But yeah, I'm going to go with Pereira here to get the knockout. Mikolaitis has been knocked out 4 times. That's not good. I question his chin. I question his cardio. But I can tell you one thing, I will not be laying the juice on Pereira, because if Mikolaitis does wrestle, get it down to the mat, hey, he's a black belt. It would not completely shock me if Pereira got submitted here for the second time in his very short career. Pereira opened up -150, is now -240. Mikolaitis opened up +130, he's now +205. I see this fight ending inside like the first round. I don't see this getting extended. It's going to be very fun as long as it lasts. I could see a Mikolaitis early sub, but I think the most likely scenario is I think Pereira knocks him out, and I think he knocks him out round 1. So give me Pereira by knockout round 1, but regardless, it should be a very, very fun fight. All right, next we'll get into the main card here, and this main card is stacked. I am looking forward to it. It is so good, and we kick it off with a banger of Frankie Edgar going against Marlon Vera, a very, very good fight. We have Marlon Vera, 28 years old, 5'8", with a 70.5-inch reach, 19-7 in 1, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Frankie Edgar, 40 years old, 5'6", 68-inch reach, 24-9, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Vera can have a 2.5-inch reach advantage and a 2-inch height advantage, and he's going to be 12 years younger. And I think that's the story of the fight here. Marlon Vera, a 40-year-old bantamweight. That is not good. And it's a shame because you take a look at this matchup, and like on paper, this is such a winnable fight for Frankie Edgar. You know, we can mix in the takedowns. Marlon Vera has been taken down before. His takedown defense has gotten a lot better. His ground game is phenomenal, but I could potentially see Edgar mixing in takedowns. I think the striking is very competitive. I like the volume of Frankie Edgar. He's going to have a speed advantage as well, 40 years old or not. You could argue that he's the better striker, but the thing is, he's 40 years old. He's taken a lot of damage. The damage is finally adding up. The durability that was once there, it's just not there anymore. And we definitely see why Frankie Edgar is the dog here. Marlon Vera opened up -200. He's now -170. Frankie Edgar opened up +170. He's now +145. But yeah, Frankie Edgar, he's 40 years old. That's important. That is very important at bantamweight. And he's been knocked out 3 times in his career, and all 3 of those are coming pretty recent. We take a look at who he's getting knocked out by, though, and it's not shameful in any right. Corey Sandhagen knocked him out in his last fight. No shame in that at all. We take a look and we see that Korean Zombie knocked out Frankie Edgar. No shame in that. And then also Brian Ortega. So those are the 3 guys that have knocked him out. Is Marlon Vera the same caliber as those guys? No. I think all 3 of those guys beat Marlon Vera and beat him pretty convincingly, to be honest. But Marlon Vera, the thing about him is this guy's a dog. He's never been knocked out. I don't think he's ever going to be knocked out. I don't think he's ever going to be finished. This guy is made out of something like iron. Like, this guy is so durable. He's a savage. He really is. He's dangerous. He's dangerous anywhere the fight goes. On the mat, he's extremely dangerous. I believe he's a black belt in BJJ. Multiple submissions on his record. And then also on the feet, he's very dangerous. I mean, just watching him in his last fight against Davey Grant, he threw like a 5-piece combination just with elbows. Like, this guy is very dangerous. I just don't know if Frankie Edgar, at this stage of his career, can take those shots. I really don't think he can. So yeah, on paper, it looks like a winnable fight for Frankie Edgar, but the 40-year-old age, the durability diminishing, I got to go with Marlon Vera here. And I got to go with Marlon Vera inside the distance, and I'm going to take him to win by give me a 3rd-round knockout for Marlon Vera. I think he does put away Frankie Edgar later in the fight. Marlon Vera tends to drop the first round more often than not, but I think he's going to build into the fight, get better as the fight goes on. I think in the 3rd round, Marlon Vera does catch him. But either way, this fight is really good and cannot wait to kick off the card with a banger like this. And speaking of banger, my goodness, this is, in my opinion, the 2nd best fight on the card behind the main event. This is potential fight of the night written all over it. This fight is phenomenal. Both guys who I am huge fans of bring a style that is very exciting, very pleasant to watch, and this fight is going to be just that. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape here. So we see that Burgos is 30 years old, 5'11", with a 75.5-inch reach, 13-3 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Billy Corantillo, he is 32 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach, 16-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. I do want to get into some stats on this fight, but we'll take a look at the odds first. Shane Burgos opened at -170, currently -200. Billy Corantillo opened up +145, he's currently +170. So, yeah, I kind of thought the odds would be a little bit closer. Billy Corantillo seems to be like a fan favorite, but yeah, the odds are -200 in favor of Burgos here. So let's find out why. Burgos does land 7.29 significant strikes per minute. This guy is high volume, so much volume he throws, and he has a 49% accuracy. As far as defensively, absorbing 6.11 significant strikes per minute, which is not good at all. He's very hittable, absorbs a ton, with a positive 1.18 significant strike differential and a 58% striking defense. So on paper, the striking defense is not horrible, 58%, but man, is he absorbing a ton of strikes. Billy Corantillo, on the other hand, very high volume in his own right, lands 7.08 significant strikes per minute with a 64% accuracy, absorbing 4.44 significant strikes per minute with a positive 2.64 significant strike differential and a 43% striking defense, which is that's not good. That is not good at all, especially in a fight like this. But we'll take a look at the grappling stats, and this is where I feel like for Corantillo to have success, I think he needs to get takedowns here. On the feet, I just favor Burgos, pretty widely. Burgos' striking is phenomenal. He has great leg kicks as well. He throws a ton of volume, has a ton of power to back it up, and just seeing how hittable Billy Corantillo is, I think it's a recipe for disaster if Billy Corantillo does not get it down to the mat. Billy Corantillo does land 1.66 takedowns per 15 minutes, 34% accuracy, has a 57% takedown defense. Shane Burgos probably not going to go for takedowns here. I think he's like 1 in the UFC, was 1 for 1 on takedowns, and is an 89% takedown defense. That is very important. But the big thing with Burgos is the guy, he's so tough. Like, this guy is one of the toughest fighters I know. Not too many people can absorb 127 significant strikes from Josh Emmett and not go out. He knocked him down twice, but yet Burgos would not go out. And Josh Emmett is one of the hardest hitters in the division, and he ate 127 significant strikes. Then against Edson Barbosa, he gets knocked out in very brutal fashion, a very scary knockout, one where he got hit hard, and it took like his brain like a couple seconds to deliver the message that he's hurt bad, and then all of a sudden he just kind of falls down out of nowhere. It was like a really weird stoppage. I never seen anything like it. Very scary as well. And what's weird about that is he's coming back pretty early, like 5 months 5 months that Barbosa knockout happened, which was very bad, and he's coming back a little bit too early. And even like prior to that, he took a beating from Josh Emmett. So this guy's taken a lot of damage, and he's still 30 years old. He's still fairly young. So the thing with Burgos is his striking's good. He's very hittable, but he's very durable. I know he's been knocked out twice. Calvin Kattar knocked him out in a fight where Burgos actually outlanded him in terms of strikes, but knocked him out in the 3rd round. Barbosa knocked him out, but as you can see, like you need like a shovel to knock this guy out. Like it's very hard to do so, and I don't think Billy Corantillo has the same firepower in striking, especially as a Barbosa, as a Josh Emmett, and as a Calvin Kattar. We see that Billy Corantillo has been running through guys. He ran through Camilla Kirk. He ran through Jacob Kilburn, who's been cut, I believe. Ran through Spike Carlo, who's been cut. Ran through Kyle Nelson, who's probably been cut. And then he faced Gavin Tucker, who's probably one of the best guys he's faced in his career. And Gavin Tucker was able to stuff the takedowns easily. Corantillo went 0 for 3. Gavin Tucker even went out there and took down Corantillo 7 times. And I just did not like what I saw. And I do think Burgos is a better striker than Gavin Tucker. So yeah, looks like a pretty tough matchup for Billy Corantillo, at least on paper. The short time off for Burgos is something to mention. 5 months off from that, probably not enough, but he's coming back. Corantillo, I just don't see him having success in the wrestling. He's able to take down guys like Kyle Nelson, Spike Carlisle. That's all good. Jacob Kilburn, but Burgos actually has a very good takedown defense. He's very strong, very hard to hold down as well. So yeah, I like Burgos here to win. But regardless, this fight's going to be very good. It's going to be an absolute war. Both guys are dangerous. Both guys are hittable. It's going to be fun. My pick for fight of the night. But yeah, I'm going to take Shane Burgos to win. I could see a knockout, but Billy Corantillo is tough as they come as well. Both guys are very tough, but I'll go decision. I'll say Shane Burgos does win by decision. Should be a very, very fun fight. All right, 3 fights left, and probably 3 fights I'm looking forward to a lot. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. Should be a fun one. Should be a very fun one. We have Justin Gaethje, 32 years old, 5'11", with a 70-inch reach, 22-3, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Michael Chandler, 35 years old, 5'8", 71.5-inch reach, 22-16, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds here. We see that Justin Gaethje is a favorite. Opened up -140. He's now -195. Michael Chandler opened up +120. He is now +170. So, yeah, this fight is going to be so good. I mean, this is a fight where I feel like they're just going to stand in the middle and bang until one man falls. Both guys, want to come forward. Both guys want to pressure. I'm very curious to see who takes that back step first, because both guys want to pressure and knock out the other guy. I guess an interesting aspect of the fight could be, will Michael Chandler wrestle? Will he wrestle Justin Gaethje? I think the problem with that is, Michael Chandler, he's 35 years old. I really didn't like what I saw in terms of his last fight with the cardio against Charles Oliveira. He looked very, very tired after that first round. So even if he does choose to wrestle Justin Gaethje, by the way, Justin Gaethje is a very good takedown defense. He has a 69% on paper, but a lot of that is because Khabib took him down 2 times. Khabib was 2 for 3 on takedowns. But other than that, not a lot of guys are taking him down. Michael Johnson took him down, he got back up. Eddie Alvarez took him down, he got back up. Very good takedown defense and get-up game does Gaethje have. And if Chandler does take him down, I mean, Chandler's a black belt. I could potentially see an early submission, but I kind of have a feeling that they're just going to stand and bang here. And at that point, Chandler's going to be live in the first round. Chandler hits like a truck. Both guys do. But Chandler, especially early, I think he's going to have some success here. Gaethje is very, very hittable. Gaethje does absorb 7.99. That's about 8 significant strikes per minute. That is not good, especially against Michael Chandler. But I kind of think if this gets out of the first round, I heavily favor Justin Gaethje. I think Gaethje at this point in their careers especially has the better cardio. I feel like Gaethje has the better durability. Michael Chandler, I don't think his chin's great. I don't think his cardio's good. He's now 35 years old. I like Gaethje here quite a bit, but am I completely ruling out a Chandler early finish? No. If Chandler does get Gaethje down, potential submission. Chandler potentially could knock out Gaethje early as well. It's just I don't think he can keep up the pace that I think is going to be put here. I don't think he can keep it up for 3 rounds without getting knocked out. And I think Justin Gaethje does knock him out at some point. I'm going to say Justin Gaethje, either like a second or third round knockout, but I do think he puts out Chandler's lights. Justin Gaethje has never seen a decision in the UFC, and I don't think that changes here. Give me Justin Gaethje to win. Give me Justin Gaethje to win by, I'll say, a third round. Give me second. Give me second round knockout for Justin Gaethje. All right, next we have the co-main event. Should be a very good one, a rematch. We have Rose Namajunas going against Zhang Weili. We have Rose Namajunas, 29 years old, 5'5", with a 65-inch reach, 10-4, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Zhang Weili, 32 years old, 5'4", with a 63-inch reach, 21-2, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So I do want to get into some stats on this one. I am looking forward to this fight so much. Obviously, we all know what happened in the first fight, but if you're a fight fan, you know that all fights are created different. I don't expect Rose Namajunas to come out here and start Zhang Weili in the first couple minutes. At least I wouldn't think so, but we take a look at the odds, and they're very close as expected. Zhang Weili opened up -110. She's now -115. Rose Namajunas opened up -110. She's currently -105. Just for a reference, Zhang Weili in her fight against Rose a couple months ago, the first one, Zhang Weili, I believe, closed around like -200. So with that knockout, the line is actually close to a pick'em here. So let's get into some of these numbers. So Rose Namajunas, she does land 4.13 significant strikes per minute with a 40% accuracy, absorbing 3.99 significant strikes per minute with a positive 0.14 significant strike differential and a 60% striking defense. As far as Zhang Weili, she throws a ton of volume, landing 6.36 significant strikes per minute with a little bit better of an accuracy than Rose Namajunas, 45%, absorbing 4.42 with a positive 1.94 significant strike differential. Very impressive numbers there, and a 53% striking defense. I think Rose is a better technical striker, but Zhang Weili, she hits very, very hard. I think the power is an advantage of Zhang Weili, and I think in terms of like the numbers and the fight, I think they're going to be very competitive the longer they go. I think they'll start to stir more in favor of Zhang Weili, but at least early, I think the numbers at least are going to be more probably in the favor of Rose, to be honest, or like very, very close and competitive. But again, I think the power of Zhang Weili is what's going to stick out to the judges. For example, like the JJ fight, the Joanna fight, where Joanna was landing more volume, but we saw clearly who was landing the harder shots, and that was Zhang Weili. I can kind of see the same thing here. We'll talk about the grappling a little bit. This one's interesting. Rose Namajunas does land about 1.89 takedowns per 15 minutes. 53% takedown accuracy. I'm not sure she goes for takedowns here, and if she does, I'm not sure if she is successful. Zhang Weili has a 100% takedown defense, never been taken down. Very strong, very hard to take down. Zhang Weili, on the other hand, does land 1.24 takedowns per 15 minutes, 23% takedown accuracy, and Rose does have a 50% takedown defense. So Zhang Weili is training at Fight Ready for this camp, and I've heard a lot of people talking about Zhang Weili potentially implementing some takedowns, and if she wants them, I think they're there all day. It's just Rose is so dangerous on the mat that I don't know if I was Zhang Weili, I don't know if I'd go for takedowns because of how dangerous Rose is on the mat there. But if she wants the takedowns, they'll be there. Rose's takedown defense is not great. So yeah, I like the move to Fight Ready though for Zhang Weili. I think it's a really good move. And I go back and I take a look at Rose and kind of her career, and she's had a phenomenal career. You go back against Andrade, the slam knockout, very unfortunate there. But after that fight, she fought Andrade again, the rematch, and you go back and look at that fight, and Rose is having a lot of success early. She's outlanding Andrade in that first round pretty clearly. Outlands her 31-18, clear Rose round. The next round's a lot closer. Rose outlands her 31-26. One of the judges actually did score that second round for Andrade. It was close. Andrade probably landed the harder shots, but Rose did land the more volume. And then round 3, I did not like what I saw in terms of Rose. She slowed down a lot. She looked a little tired. She looked beat up. She was getting hit. She was getting hit hard. And Andrade was really starting to put it on her. And Andrade actually outlanded her in that third round, won that third round on all 3 judges' scorecards. And my thinking is, what if that fight was 5 rounds? If that fight was 5 rounds, Rose is losing. I mean, there's no really... I'd be shocked if it was if you got an extra 2 rounds in that fight. I think Andrade would have either finished Rose or won those next 2 and won a decision there. But it was 3 rounds. So in this fight here, I can kind of see the same thing. I think Rose is going to have success early. I think it's going to be very competitive early. I don't think Rose runs away with it or anything like that. I think it's going to be competitive. But I think as the fight goes on, the damage and the power of Zhang Weili is just going to wear on Rose. Rose is going to be wearing it. She's going to be feeling it. I think Rose is going to slow down as the fight goes on. And the thing about Zhang Weili is she can throw all the volume in the world, which she does, and she does not slow down, ever. She has a great gas tank and a great volume as well. We didn't get to see much of the first fight. I mean, if you're one of the people that think, that the first fight's going to play out like the second, I think you're wrong. Like, we don't see that. This is going to be a new fight. I think, I'd be shocked if Rose Namajunas finished Zhang Weili again. I think she's going to be prepared for that head kick for sure. And from what we did see in that first fight, I kind of liked the game plan of Zhang Weili initially. She was going to the legs early, which is very smart, which stops the movement a little bit of Rose Namajunas. And then obviously she got caught, so we did not get to see the fight play out. But yeah, I like Zhang Weili here. If you could not tell, I like Zhang Weili to win by decision. I could very well see a late finish, but I like Zhang Weili here quite a bit. I picked her the first time, I fully admit that, but after going back and looking at the tape, I 100% see why I did pick her the first time, and I'm going to pick her here again. I'm going to say she does win. Again, I think the first couple rounds are going to be very competitive. I just think as the fight goes on, Zhang Weili is going to take over, and she's going to win down the stretch, maybe get a late finish, but win that decision. So give me Zhang Weili to win. Give me Zhang Weili to win by decision. I think the move to fight ready is the right move, and I'm curious to see how Zhang Weili looks with this new camp change. So give me Zhang Weili by decision. Very good fight. Looking forward to that rematch. And speaking of rematches, my goodness, we have Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington. This is my most anticipated fight this year. This fight is phenomenal. The first fight was great. This fight is going to be great, and I'm looking forward to every single second of it. But let's get into it here. Me and Uncle Weezy did a main event deep dive. If you do want a more in-depth breakdown of this main event, check that out. And then this is a good fight. We have Kamaru Usman, 34 years old, 6 foot, with a 76-inch reach, 19-1, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Colby Covington, 33 years old, 5'11", 72-inch reach. He is 16-2, and he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Kamaru Usman, he does land 4.63 significant strikes per minute with a 54% accuracy, absorbing 2.4 significant strikes per minute with a positive 2.23 significant strike differential and a 57% striking defense. Very impressive numbers for Kamaru Usman. Same thing for Colby Covington. He does land 4.12 significant strikes per minute with a 38% accuracy, absorbing 2.86 significant strikes with a positive 1.26 significant strike differential and a 55% striking defense. As far as the grappling stats go, so in the first fight, we didn't see any takedowns at all. I'm not sure if that's going to change. Kind of expecting the same type of fight, striking fight for 25 minutes, but we'll get into the grappling stats regardless. Kamaru Usman, very good wrestling. Both guys have very good wrestling, but Usman, 3.27 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, 48% accuracy, 100% takedown defense for Kamaru Usman. As far as Colby Covington, does land 4.61 takedowns per 15 minutes, 50% accuracy, and a 75% takedown defense. But like I said, I think that this fight is primarily going to stay on the feet. Let's take a look at the line. Kamaru Usman opened up minus 225. He's now minus 275. Colby Covington opened up plus 190. He's now plus 235. So yeah, lots of money coming in on Kamaru Usman. I mean, we just saw him win, and I think he's gotten better. I really do. I think that's the key here for me. If we take a look at Kamaru Usman, he's had 3 fights since that Colby Covington fight. And Kamaru Usman, he beat Jorge Masvidal by decision, a fight where Masvidal came in on short notice. Beat him pretty accordingly there. Then he knocks out Gilbert Burns, and his striking looked the best it's ever had. His jab looked good. His jab looked powerful. Knocked down Gilbert Burns several times with his jab and ended up finishing Gilbert Burns. Very impressive performance. And then he goes out there and knocks out Jorge Masvidal, which, yeah, this seals it for me. I mean, I was not sold on Kamaru Usman's power. He was kind of a decisionator earlier in his career, but now the power is showing. Like, not often do you see Jorge Masvidal getting knocked out. Not often, because I believe that was the very first time ever in the UFC that Jorge Masvidal has been knocked out, and Kamaru Usman just knocked him out cold. Like, that was bad. That was bad. So, yeah, Kamaru Usman, he's getting a lot better. His striking's getting a lot better. And we take a look at the first fight, and in that fight, what I noticed was Colby Covington, whenever he was having success, it was him just throwing a ton of volume. He threw 111 strikes in round 1, 97 in round 2. Both those rounds are very close and competitive, but when I noticed Usman was having success was when Colby kind of slowed down a little bit, slowed down the fight, if you will. when it was like slowed down and more of a technical fight, it was Kamaru Usman all day, just picking apart Colby Covington. In that third round, Colby's volume dropped off a ton. I think that was the round where Kamaru Usman hurt him, and Colby only landed 8 significant strikes in that round. This is kind of like the last fight, where I think in terms of the numbers, in terms of the volume, it's going to be very close and competitive. Maybe Colby can even land more volume here. It's just, I think the power of Kamaru Usman is going to be the key here. One guy has significant power and one guy does not, and that is Colby Covington. He does not have power. He's a decision-maker in his own right, whereas Kamaru Usman, I was not sold on the power until now. He definitely has power. So I like Kamaru Usman here. I like him to get the job done, and I like him to get it done. I want to say by decision, but my goodness, I mean, he's going out there and just he's looking powerful. He's looking good. Maybe a knockout. Maybe he knocks out Colby Covington, because Colby did get hit a lot in that fight, and especially with like the new version of Usman we're seeing with his striking, I could see a knockout. So I'm gonna say a fourth round knockout. I'll say a fourth round knockout for Kamaru Usman. I think he puts out Colby at some point. I think it does get extended, but yeah, give me Kamaru Usman here. Give me Kamaru Usman to win by knockout. Really looking forward to this fight. Really looking forward to this card. This card is very, very good outside of Jean Volante, outside of John Allan, but the rest of the fights are very good. This card is a card where I'm gonna have no problem, pulling out the $70 and buying the pay-per-view there. So yeah, guys, that is about it. Make sure you guys please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Really do appreciate all the likes, all the subscriptions to the channel. Really do appreciate that a ton. Comment down how many significant strikes you think these two are going to combine for. I think it's going to be a ton. If you get it, I'm going to double the regular prize at 25. I'm going to double it to 50. So we'll see if somebody can get it on the dot here. Check out the Patreon. 2 bets already. Not sure if you guys can tell who I bet yet or not, but check them out. $10 a month for the betting option. Have the DraftKings option as well. With that, you get all my bets early. Beat some line movement. I'm killing the line movement this year. Also, the betting article later in the week. We got the stats, all the stats you do see in like the betting breakdown videos, all that good stuff. Uncle Weezy does the advanced stats behind the scenes as well. Lots of great stuff on there. Really does help me out. Hopefully, it does help you guys out as well. But yeah, guys, that's about it. Looking forward to getting into UFC 268, watching it from a fan perspective and making some money along the way. Check out my live stream, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, and then 1 hour prior to the prelims on Saturday. Me, Weezy Narco, and a very special guest for Best Bet. A lot of people seem to like that, and I like doing it as well. So that's about it, guys. See you guys later, and good luck for UFC 268. Should be a banger of a card. See you.